by Microlocs Installation. This is the grid pattern that I used. Honestly, I just followed another YouTuber's grid pattern. I'll try to link them down below. I didn't 100% stick to this grid pattern, so this was just kind of like a base, but I didn't follow it exactly. Right here you'll see me starting off with really tiny parts in the back. So when I decided I was going to lock my hair, I decided that I wanted the back to be, at least the first 3 rows in the back, to be really tiny. This is primarily because when I've gotten braids in the past on like my loose natural hair, but when I've gotten the chunky braids, I always find that when the back is too thick, it just kind of bothers my neck. And so I was like, when my locks grow and mature and they get thicker, I don't want to feel like that and not be able to change it, or have to think about splitting it. So I really wanted the back to be, at least the first 3 rows, to be really tiny, and then as I moved towards the middle of my head, they would increase in size. And so you'll see the size differences at the very end of this video. Now, I did not use those, I guess, part measurement things. I didn't use a pencil. I didn't use anything really to measure the size of my individual locks. I frankly am okay with having different sizes of locks throughout my head, so I was like, you know what, it's extra work that I don't have to do, so I'm completely fine with it. But you'll see kind of the difference in sizes throughout my head. So here you're just seeing me, first I would unravel the little section with the Bantu knot, and then I would cut horizontally, and then I would cut out the parts vertically. So I'm just gonna let you keep watching what I'm doing, but I pretty much just repeated the same thing throughout on each different section. One thing I also wanted to add was that this process actually took me 3 days. Honestly, if I had started early in the morning, I probably would have finished it late that night, but I started the evening of the first day, and I made a good bit of progress, and then the second day I barely did anything, and then the third day I barely did anything. So most of my work was done in the first day. So my first section is done. Now I'm just going to braid that whole part together so I can have it out of the way while I work on the other sections. I unravel the next Bantu knot, and I pretty much just repeat this process all over again. I make the back portion pretty tiny, and then increase as I move upwards. So this is how far we've gone. You can see the dramatic increase in the sizes. You'll find out later on that I went back and actually split a couple of these into 2. But for right now, I'm just gonna braid them together and move them to the side so I can keep working. So at this point, it's still day 1, and I was absolutely exhausted. Like, I was ready for it to be done. I worked on it a little more, and then I went to bed. So this is day 2. As you can see, I've worked on the top left corner of my head. You can see that they're actually much smaller. So the front is much smaller. It's pretty much close to what the back was, and then you can see the middle is a lot thicker. I wasn't too happy with the middle, but we'll come to that part later on. This is where I realized that the parting was smaller on this side, on the right side of my head for the middle part, than it was on the other side. So I took it out and redid it again. So I also want you to know that there was a lot of, twisting and untwisting throughout this. It wasn't like a smooth, seamless process where I just kind of twisted and moved on. There were so many parts that I made, and I went back and I took it back out and either split it in half or added more hair. It was not a smooth process. So don't think it's just supposed to be very smooth. But yeah, so I'm really happy with this current part. It's much better. So I decided to keep that and keep twisting. Yeah, at this point I was exhausted. You can see me bending. My back is hurting. My arms are hurting. I'm just ready for it to be done. Alright, it is day 3, and as you can see, I didn't get too far. On day 1, I probably worked on it. On day 2, I probably worked on it for maybe 2 hours, and then I left it alone. So this is me working on the last little sections that the last little side of my head that I have left. So after I was done, I went through my head to find parts that were bigger than what I wanted. Obviously, as you can see, it was mostly the parts in the middle that were too big. So I decided I would go through and I would split a couple of them. Now, I didn't split all of them, but I went through and split a few. So this is after I've split a couple of them in the back. And as you can see, compared to what it previously looked like, the middle section looks just a tad bit fuller. So I'm happy with these new sizes now, and yeah, you can see they're still pretty large, but just not as big as they were before. We are pretty much done, so I'm happy with these new sizes. I like the way it looks. I kept running my hands through my hair. You can't imagine honestly my first 2 months of having my locks in, my hands were always in my hair. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions about my lock process, or if you have any questions really, please put them down in the comments below and I will answer them to the best of my ability. If you would like to follow my journey, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.